100% rain chance on Sunday is why it's a WRAL weather alert day. How long the rain sticks around and when we can see highs in the 70s next week.
And after a long, emotional hearing, it's over.
Austin Thompson is the rare offender whose crime reflects irreparable corruption.
A judge sentences the Raleigh mass shooter to 5 life sentences without parole.
Justice was served today.
Hear from the families of the victims after the ruling as we look into why this happened and we look into who the victims were from the people who knew them best. Tonight, the teenager who shot and killed 5 people in a Raleigh neighborhood is behind bars. 5 life sentences for Austin Thompson, 40 years each, and he will serve those consecutively, meaning one right after the other. After 2 weeks of hearings, intense testimony that was often difficult to listen to, that was the final answer from the judge. And we will talk about it all tonight. Why the judge made that decision, the reaction from the victims' families, and what happens next. Let's start by bringing in WRAL's Sean Gallagher live outside of the Wake County Courthouse for us tonight. Sean, you've been in the courtroom closely watching this for the last 2 weeks. A lot of heavy emotional testimony. What was it like in there today when everything came to a head?
Dan, I got to tell you, the cries when Judge Ridgway made that announcement today, life without parole, they were like nothing that you would ever hear. There were no cries of triumph or joy because of this. So many families broken by Austin Thompson's actions. This is just a day that they were hoping to hear, that they wanted to hear. Here's from 2 of those victims' surviving family members telling us after court what this means to them.
Hey, this is what he deserved, you know. 5 lives, 6 lives, and you just couldn't ask for anything more. I never heard Austin apologize. I never heard any, never seen any regrets, you know, so right now I can't forgive him.
I don't even know how to describe it. Like, we're all happy with the sentence, but why do we even have to be here?
And after court, I also talked with Ginny Marshall, that's Mary Marshall's mother, and she didn't want to do any interviews, which I totally understand, but she told me she's feeling relieved by this. And then, of course, Jasmine Torres, the widow of Gabriel Torres, she's been extremely emotional over the last 2 weeks, was not available for media interviews, completely understand that as well. And then there's the 5th family in all of this, Austin Thompson's family, who now don't have 2 of their sons, James, who died that day, and Austin, taken away for the rest of their life. I talked to Austin Thompson's defense attorney about whether or not they would make a statement here, and she tells me at this time the Thompsons will not. Dan?
You know, you touched on this a little bit. Today might be a relief, Sean, for these families, but closure in this type of grief, it's very difficult to wrap your head around. Tomorrow will be another day that they wake up and their loved ones are gone. Is there some extra sadness today knowing that this chapter is closed?
Yeah, Dan, not to mention tomorrow, Valentine's Day. I mean, the day that you want to celebrate your love and they don't have that person with them. But, you know, there is a sadness there that, you know, tomorrow they do move on. And for a large part, we won't be here at the courthouse to, you know, talk about this case anymore. But it is something that has stuck with this community and it will for years to come. But also think about people like Tom Karnitz. He, you know, mentioned something that, you know, was really powerful, that every single day has been hard for the last 3 years. He wakes up and does not have his wife Sue next to him. He doesn't feel her there, and how hard that makes every single day. But still, even today, he took a moment to try to share a message moving forward so that no family like his or the other 4 involved here have to feel a pain like this again.
What I wanted to say to anyone who has guns and who has children, to be sure to lock up your guns. Your kids are probably great kids, but the damage that can be done is just too much to take a risk.
Yeah, during the course of these 2 weeks, maybe no one more deliberate in selecting their words than Mr. Karnitz there, just being very specific in what he's saying and really grabs your attention, makes you want to listen to every single word he says. And I'm sure now, maybe more than ever, he's hoping those words he said to us are heard by people all around the area.
Let's talk a little bit about the decision, Sean. Judge Paul Ridgway, very thorough, tearing down the defense's argument about Austin Thompson. Clearly a very strong case, you would think, from the district attorney's office, just to make sure Thompson stays locked up for good.
Yeah, the way that I was putting it after court is really Ridgway just laid waste to the defense's entire argument that they made over the course of the last week, saying those web searches about, mass shootings, weapons, how to kill people, that those had meaning leading up to the shooting and showed that he had some sort of plan here and that he followed through with it. And then also the idea of his acne medication having some sort of adverse reaction, completely nullifying that, saying it was infinitesimally small, that could have happened to Austin and that there was no violence that came from even the small cases that were there. But the DA's office had a lot to say about this and the work of the two assistant district attorneys today as well. Here's Lauren Freeman.
Our thoughts have been with the families all along, and so we're very grateful that we bring some closure to this piece of that horrible tragedy for them, as you've heard from them, and as we know only too well. I mean, this doesn't fix for them the tremendous loss that they have endured, but at least puts this part behind us.
And this part behind us for now. There will be an appeal process in the future, but as we go ahead tomorrow, this won't be something that's forgotten by this community. I've seen comments online saying how they remember that day very well, and it's a day that they will remember for years to come, Dan.
Certainly. Sean, thank you for your reporting tonight. Now, one of the things many of us hoped to learn from the 2 weeks of hearings here was why. Why did this happen? It has confused the prosecutors, honestly, Austin's parents as well as teachers, the investigators, and the community. That question as to why. We know that he left a note. Austin wrote that he killed his brother, James, because he would, quote, get in the way. He wrote that he did this because he hates humans, because they're destroying the planet. How did nobody see him struggling like this, though? Austin's mom and his dad, they both took the stand, and they said that they never saw any red flags, that this was out of nowhere.
I don't remember seeing any issues at all, or mood swings or anything like that. He was just normal.
Does your knowledge of him now make it make sense?
No. I don't understand it. I mean, there were no signs. And that's the scary part. There were no signs at all. If there was, and I'd avoided them, I wouldn't be here today.
Now, you might think that it's natural that a parent would answer the question like that, but they're not the only ones without an answer. I mean, frankly, detectives couldn't figure it out either, and they tried. They spoke to his teachers, neighbors, classmates, and they were all saying the same things. No signs, no red flags, no bullying, nothing like that. There is a mountain of studies that have looked into this sort of thing, from the U.S. Secret Service to the FBI to the DOJ to the Department of Justice. All of them show that most attackers show some warning signs, especially when you're dealing with teenagers. Teens are the most likely to verbalize their plans to peers or to post something online. But with Austin Thompson, investigators say they found no clear evidence of that. From what I read, he fits into another smaller, rarer category. And the judge said something similar today, that Austin Thompson was a 1 in a million case.
Court concludes that the answer to the issue before the court at this hearing is yes. Austin Thompson is the rare offender whose crime reflects irreparable corruption.
I want to bring in now senior reporter Megan Cloherty, who's been covering this from the very beginning of this trial every single day, paying such close attention. We heard what the judge had to say about Austin Thompson being this rare case. And it was rare, even according to the defense. They were saying, look, no red flags. Nobody saw this coming. But the judge didn't really see it that way.
He didn't, because he pointed to the evidence that we actually have, not the evidence we don't have. The evidence we have is a note from him that says what he's going to do in his plan. The evidence we have is a packed bag that was 22 pounds of stuff that he planned on taking with him to keep him alive for a couple days. And the fact those internet searches were so damning, just in the weeks leading up to this murder.
The thing about the internet searches is the defense tried to say that's just the internet searching history of any 15-year-old boy, curious in a violent world as they are able to get out there and search these things. But the judge, again, did not see it like that.
It was a very small percentage, and that was the defense's argument, like this is a small percentage of it, but it was how specific and how close it was to the crime. One of the things he searched was, can you hear a .22 caliber gunshot from inside a house? Well, guess what he used to shoot his brother? A .22 caliber. Okay, who was a mass shooter who ran into the woods, and how long could they hide from police? I mean, I'm paraphrasing his searches here, but he was searching mass shooters. He was searching vulnerable areas in our community, including his own school. And he was planning this, and that's what the judge took away from it. This wasn't just a spontaneous, out of nowhere, effect of some medicine. It was the fact that he went on and on and on, day after day, looking for this one thing.
You bring up the medicine because that was another big part of the defense's case, saying, again, no red flags. The internet search history is not relevant. It's all because of this acne medication and the side effects that caused him to disassociate from people and the world.
Right. And apparently this happens so rarely. The judge used the word infinitesimal. This has happened to maybe a couple people in research. They were all women, and it all happened within the first couple days of them taking this very widely prescribed drug. And he'd been on it for a year. So the judge was like, even the experts that you brought here to testify, and there were two experts, neither one of them could say that this medicine affected Austin Thompson based on his physiology. They couldn't tell him that. So he's like, without that evidence, I find that I'm going to lean on the research here of the drug, which is that side effect would be incredibly rare. And there's much more evidence that he planned this.
All right. Great insight. Thank you, Megan. The sentencing hearings for Austin Thompson were a unique situation. He pleaded guilty before a trial could start, but the hearings kind of felt like a trial. So why did it all play out this way? One word: parole. A judge explains why, barring an appeal, Austin Thompson will be behind bars for life. Kat?
And we have widespread rain in the forecast this weekend, but we also have some mid-70s. I'll have a closer look at the timing for all these ups and downs coming up. I'm meteorologist Kat Campbell. A split weekend in the forecast. We've got gorgeous weather tomorrow for Valentine's Day. Make sure you get outside. It's partly cloudy during the day. Overall, much warmer with highs reaching the low 60s. Get out and enjoy it. Just know that you'll still need to dress in layers in the morning. We start out in the 20s. By the time we get to noon, we're back up in the mid-50s, 60s during the afternoon, and 50s again as we head into dinner time. So make sure you've got the extra layer. And then Sunday, turn that into a raincoat. Our next system is going to arrive Sunday. It's still over the southwest tonight, but this should bring an inch to an inch and a half of rain to our area. And boy, do we need it with the drought that we are in. Anywhere from 5 to 10 inches. That's the rainfall deficit. And we have a closer town by town look at that deficit up on WRAL.com. Be sure to check it out. Really interesting how much rain we need still. And Sunday, it'll help, but we still have a ways to go. Here's the town by town look. An inch in our southern counties, maybe a bit more from the triangle points to the north. As for the timing of this rain on Sunday, there could be a little bit of rain around Sunday morning, but there's not going to be a lot until we get past lunchtime. During the afternoon, the radar really starts to blossom with more rainfall, and then during the evening, that's when we could see some of these pockets of heavier rain arrive Sunday evening and Sunday night. One thing that we'll have to watch is for perhaps some of the southern counties, if they're able to see some more energy and warmer temperatures, that could cut off the moisture in our northern counties, and that would mean higher rainfall totals in our southern counties as opposed to northern counties. Regardless, you're still going to see rain on Sunday night. Heading into Monday, just a small chance for some leftover rain, highs in the mid-50s Monday, but here comes the next big warm-up. Tuesday is when things really start to turn around, and if you like spring weather, you're going to love next week. Highs are back in the low to mid-70s, 74 Thursday, 76 Friday, and that comes with dry weather, so you should be able to get outside and enjoy it.
Sounds good, Kat. Thank you. As we continue our coverage of the Raleigh mass shooter being sentenced to life without parole, joining me now is a man who helped shape justice in Orange and Chatham County for nearly 50 years, making history as North Carolina's first black district attorney, later serving on the Superior Court bench. This is retired Judge Carl Fox joining us tonight. Thank you for your time, sir.
My pleasure.
So Thompson was just 15 years old when he committed these crimes. In North Carolina, juveniles convicted of serious crimes must be eligible for parole after 40 years. But in this case, he's not getting any parole ever. Why is that?
Well, because after that ruling, Miller came down, the legislature passed a law that said basically that you can consider life with or without parole as a judge, and you must you determine whether the person can be rehabilitated or is corrupt or incorrigible and should not be eligible, and give them life without parole. And that was pursuant to the finding in Miller v. Alabama. Now, I've heard this whole thing mentioned about his eligibility in 40 years. And that's a really sort of a strange case, how that came about. There was consideration of longevity tables and those kind of things in determining the 40 years. And I don't think there's anything set in stone that when he reaches the 40-year mark, and assuming he reaches the 40-year mark, that he would be eligible, because the judge has found that he should receive life without parole. And I think that would have to be determined at some later point, whether he's eligible before an appellate court.
Right.
I can't say the finding itself is unusual, because when I was a judge, I heard a murder rehearing down in Cumberland County, where a defendant had killed a guy who was going to sell drugs to him and his pregnant girlfriend. And after hearing it, I sentenced him to 2 life sentences without parole. And because I don't believe murder should be a BOGO situation. You don't kill one, get one sentence from killing 2 people. Each life was valuable, and the person deserves a sentence for each one. So, and the court determined that life without parole meant life. And so I couldn't really sentence him to 2 life sentences without parole. So they merged it sort of into 1 life without parole. And I was stunned at that. I didn't believe that was the correct interpretation of the law, but the court did that. And, I'm just a sitting judge. What can I say? There's nothing I can do about it.
Well, we appreciate your time tonight. Carl Fox, former retired North Carolina Superior Court judge. We appreciate your insight on this as well. We should say that there were more than just 2 victims here. There were 5, and we're going to talk about those lives lost after the break. This ends the 3 or so year saga that has played out here in our community. For those of you who have watched this from the beginning, you know the details. Hopefully those who didn't, we were able to explain much of it tonight. You can find all of this on our website and YouTube page. But you probably have noticed that all day today, and certainly for the last 2 weeks, the story of the 2022 Raleigh mass shooting has focused a lot on Austin Thompson, and that makes sense. These last 3 or so years have been about seeking justice for his actions. But we should also talk about who this justice is for. The 5 people whose lives were taken, who were killed, and everyone who knew and loved them. The hearing spent a lot of time exploring where the victims and their families were on that terrible day of the shooting, but they also revealed little pieces of who these people were before the gunfire. We want to end our newscast tonight with that, with a brief glimpse into their lives. Thank you for watching WRAL News at 7 o'clock.
James, he was special from day one. He could do a 1-arm foot push-up when he was 5 years old. He was on I-9 soccer team. They made him the captain. He was the best in the league. That's a fact. At an early age, he and I, we used to go golf ball hunting.
He was clocking hours to get his permit. And when high school started, he would drive my car, and I'd be in the passenger seat.
We would talk about different things like college and stuff like that because he was getting closer to that time period.
One of her great passions was reading to our kids and educating our kids. Our main hobby was to run. We both ran every day back then and ran multiple marathons. She had at one point run over 700 days in a row before she got injured, but then she started a new streak, and she was still running every day.
We were married, just had our 5th anniversary. Sammy, she wouldn't let anybody else walk her. She used to, just her mother.
We would sit on my porch at times and people watch and have girly conversations, and we'd sometimes be on her porch, people watching and watching our dogs play. And that relationship was blooming into a very good friendship. When I wear this bracelet right here, she gave this to me.
What can we verbalize is the joy in which Mary brought to our lives. She had a laughter that can only be described as an infectious and what sunshine must sound like. The kindest heart and soul of anyone you'd ever meet. In short, she was a light of good in this world.
My husband was a police officer for the city of Raleigh. He was in the Marine Corps prior. He worked the overnight shift. Gabe called her Monkey. That was his nickname for her. And so any monkey stuffed animals we'd find, we have a collection of monkeys in our home. That was just his little pet name for her. He was a really great husband.